Well, after the chaos of the tornadoes, it wasn't just about checking on loved ones and friends to see if they were okay. Many people had pets who hid or just ran.
Well, just south of Blair, a team of volunteers searched to help with the reunion. 6 on your side's Mike McKnight walks us through these tense times.
Missing pets add to the heartache of tornado destruction, so volunteers from Muddy Paws search for a heartwarming outcome.
This is Buddy, this is Wrigley. Where were they?
In the fields.
Buddy is anxious to get to his owners.
He actually just had a queue on the highway because he was spotted this morning.
But Wrigley waited for his family as volunteers and friends kept him calm with hugs and assurances.
Mama's coming.
A nervous night makes a guy thirsty, not just for water, but the love and attention of owner Gina Volanek. It's hard to hold back emotions after losing a home, but finding a member of the family.
I thought you were gone forever.
A tearful reunion that inspires volunteers to keep searching.
They assigned the volunteers a grid search. So right now we found the other 2 dogs down south here. So we're going to be just finishing up the search down here for the 2 cats that are still missing. And then hopefully if we find any other dogs that are in the area.
The leashes showed they are hopeful. That tree line is about a quarter of a mile from the path of destruction, and the volunteers believe that any scared pets looking for shelter might have hunkered down there. As the tornado approached Friday afternoon, Gina Volanek says her husband rushed home to secure the family pets.
He came home to get the animals in the basement. He got the cats in there. Wrigley was down there, but he got spooked and ran back up the stairs before David could grab him.
But there was no time to chase Wrigley, who somehow joined up with a neighbor's pet, Buddy. And searchers found paw prints that indicate both dogs spent the night along a wooded ridge about a half-mile from Millstone acreages.
They were together.
They were in the field together.
And they don't like each other.
But Wrigley sure loves his family, and Gina tells him to follow one command.
Don't you dare leave me.
On your side south of Blair, Mike McKnight, 6 News.
Even in tough times, a story like that can definitely put a smile on your face. Well, the Volanek house was one of several destroyed in the Millstone Estates. The acreage neighborhood has about 24 homes.